Charleston and Berkeley and Colleton under the hurricane warning, Carolyn. Tropical storm warnings for Dorchester. And again, that's just all semantics because the bottom line is we are going to be really impacted by this. And the bottom line is, as you saw our good buddy John Q, he used to be a meteorologist of the National Weather Service here in Charleston, doing a great job keeping us updated now in Columbia. And he really kind of laid it on the line as he talked about the storm surge potential, the rainfall potential, the wind potential, all of that from Hurricane Matthew, which unfortunately is about to move right over the Grand Bahama Islands. And again, Freeport, roughly the storm is 250 miles to the southeast of Daytona Beach as it continues to move to the northwest. And this is a close-up. There's the eye of the storm, and you can kind of see the eye wall that's about to rake the Grand Bahama Island, probably moving right over Freeport. And probably a large majority of us have been to the Bahamas, probably been to Freeport from a cruise ship. You know what it's all about there. 140 mile per hour winds moving northwest at 14, 10 miles to the southeast of Freeport right now. So right there, as we look at the computer models, and this is what concerns us a lot, is these models have really been in agreement for the last day or so, the spaghetti models, to kind of hug the coast of Florida and then hug the coast of Georgia and hug the coast of South Carolina. Most of the models now really clustered together. So what's going to happen is we think it could potentially make a landfall along the east coast of Florida. That may work in our favor in the sense that it might disrupt the circulation just a little bit, having an opportunity to weaken. But still, the bottom line is it's going to be a very potent storm when it gets off of our coast. At the very least, maybe a Category 1 hurricane now very close to us. And this is what we're talking about. And I know you see this big loop-de-loop, and a lot of folks are talking about that. We'll kind of ignore this side for the moment because we really need to pay attention to the left side, and especially once we get into Saturday. So I'll move out of the way. Saturday morning, 2 a.m., late Friday night, the winds will be 110 miles an hour. That's a Category 2 in the forecast, 31.2 north, 81 west. Then we see this little bend take place, and this is probably going to be the closest that the center will get to Charleston, and that's Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m., where the winds will be 90 miles an hour, so it has weakened just a little bit, at least compared to other forecasts, to a Category 1 hurricane, but still nothing to sneeze at. 32.1 north, 80.0 west. We are 80 degrees west longitude and 33 north latitude. So that is very, very close to the Charleston County coast. And then we see that bend as it finally kind of makes its way out of here. So this is what we can expect. This is our future radar. We've also overlaid the wind particles on top of this. I'll stop it tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock because the center of the storm, even though it's going to be down off the coast of Daytona, according to our forecast, we're going to see the rain and the winds extend pretty far to the north. So we could certainly see those windy conditions beginning late afternoon, especially tomorrow evening. In addition to the rain, by the time we get to 11 o'clock on Friday, that rain shield will expand northbound by probably 150, 200 miles or so. So we're going to start to see that rain. That will be just the beginning. And unfortunately, the way the storm is going to play out, we're going to get the whole storm. In other words, it's not like part of the rain area is going to move one side or the other. It's basically coming all the way up. So we're going to continue to see that rain. That's why the forecast of 8 to 12 up to maybe 14 inches is certainly a real possibility. Here we are Saturday morning. Still, the storm is wound up off of our coast. We're getting strong winds. The rain continues all the way into Saturday afternoon, and maybe for some of us into late Saturday night and early on Sunday morning. This is 4 o'clock Sunday morning. We'll see that downsloping wind. What that basically means is that kind of dries out the atmosphere, but I do believe you can still see that the wind is going to be kind of up there even into Sunday morning. Then finally by 11 o'clock, it should be out of the area. What's important is the rainfall totals, and I've kind of broken it down for you. 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Friday, about 0.8 of an inch of rain. 8 p.m. to 2 a.m., the forecast is about 1.5 inches. Meanwhile, 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. on Saturday, almost 3 inches. 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday, potentially 3 inches. And then 2 a.m., that should be 8 a.m. on Sunday, 2.25 inches. So when you add all this up, this is just the time period I kind of took out of the models just to kind of indicate the area, the time period we would most likely see some of that heavy rain. So you're talking about many inches of rain just there. So flash flood watches in effect for widespread 8 to 12 inches of rain, certainly some even higher. And in addition to the rain, now we're dealing with all the wind as well. So the combination of the wind and the rain, we've kind of discussed this over the last few days. A lot of the trees we have are an old city. We've got old trees, old root systems that the rain's going to weaken those roots and typically have a chance to turn those trees over, and that could potentially mean power outages. So the percentage chance, the probability of 34 knot winds, 39 miles an hour or greater, tropical storm force winds, really through most of Charleston County, at least from, let's say, the islands all the way down, 80 to 90% chance, 70 to 80 as you go back into Colleton and Dorchester as well as Berkeley counties. That's why you are under a tropical storm warning out in Dorchester County, that is. Then we kind of pare it back a little bit, but still, even as far west as Columbia, 30-40% chance you're going to see tropical storm force winds. Now, the proximity of the center to the storm is very critical when you're looking at the hurricane force winds, because hurricane force winds extend about roughly 50 miles out from the center. So you got to be within 50 miles of the center of the storm. And our probabilities, even though they're relatively low right now, if the storm jogs a little bit to the west or to the north, then the higher probabilities of seeing some hurricane force winds will move northbound as well. The 40% probability and the 50% probability really not that far off the coast, but we do believe the best chance of seeing some hurricane force winds would be right along the immediate beaches, but that could change if the storm track does change. So Matthews winds will kind of give you a timeline, if you will. 34 knot winds in the yellow, tropical storm force, 50 knot winds in the orange, that's winds of 58 miles per hour or greater, and the hurricane force winds, that's in the red color, and you can see this is Friday, this is lunchtime on Friday, where it looks like the tropical storm force shield, at least the wind shield, will be just down to our south, but that's going to be migrating northbound, and as we get into Friday evening and Friday night, there's a good chance that most of us will be feeling the impacts from those tropical storm force winds, but the 50 knot winds, near 60 mile per hour winds, not that far away, and the hurricane force winds down to the south. Now, as we get into Saturday morning, that hurricane wind field we think is going to shrink a little bit, but still most of us, if not all of us, will feel tropical storm force winds with winds of 50 or 60 miles an hour very close by. That continues into Saturday afternoon, Saturday night as well, into early Sunday morning, and maybe by 7 o'clock these winds will start to abate somewhat. So the point is, this is going to be a prolonged time period from Friday night all the way into Sunday morning that some of us will be feeling those tropical storm force winds. So let's break it down for you this way. Tropical storm force winds likely. Hurricane force winds are possible. As far as the rainfall, 8 to 14 inches. Flooding is likely. Surge, that's going to be the big issue. 3 to 5 feet, maybe up to 8 feet. That's above ground level. Moderate to significant right now. This could be the big story when it's all said and done. And obviously the surf hazards are there.